From Ukraine to the Middle East, tensions are at their peak, and multiple conflicts are taking place. Relations between certain countries have never been worse, such as between Iran and Israel, China and the United States, and the two Koreas. Therefore, the possession of a nuclear arsenal is seen as crucial because it is a major symbol of strength and deterrence. But how many countries possess them today? Should we be worried? That's what we're offering to explore in this video. Let's get started. On July 16, 1945, the Trinity test took place. This codename was given to the first test of a nuclear weapon conducted under the Manhattan Project, a secret research project led by the US government whose main objective was to produce an atomic bomb. The Trinity test took place near Alamogordo, New Mexico, and aimed to demonstrate the viability of the weapon, which was later used in the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The energy generated was equivalent to the explosion of approximately 20,000 tons of TNT, and the atomic mushroom cloud rose to an altitude of 12 kilometers. Defined as a success, it became clear that the destructive power of the atomic bomb was colossal. Horrified, several scientists tried to prevent its use. However, as you already know, the US military dropped its bombs on two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 6, 1945, at 8:16 a.m., the uranium-based atomic bomb Little Boy was dropped from a B-29 bomber Enola Gay at an altitude of 9,500 meters and exploded over Hiroshima. It annihilated the city over a 12-square-kilometer area in a fraction of a second. The device's power was 15 kilotons, and the temperature at the center of the explosion approached 4,000 degrees Celsius. 3 days later, the United States attacked Nagasaki with the plutonium bomb Fat Man from the B-29 Bockscar. At 10:58 a.m., the city suffered a 20-kiloton explosion. The atomic mushroom cloud rose to 18 kilometers in altitude, and 6 square kilometers of the city were completely destroyed. In fact, despite its great power, the damage was less than in Hiroshima because Nagasaki is hilly, which partially protected it. The atomic bombings are estimated to have cost the lives of 90,000 to 140,000 people in Hiroshima and 60,000 to 80,000 inhabitants in Nagasaki. Faced with this disaster, Japan unconditionally surrendered on September 2, 1945, while a new atomic strike was being considered on Tokyo or Sapporo. Quickly, many scientists pointed out the immorality and violation of international law of nuclear strikes, with some even going as far to label them as war crimes. Currently, nuclear warheads are divided into two categories: intercontinental strategic weapons and non-strategic, also called tactical weapons, with shorter ranges intended for the battlefield. It is particularly difficult to estimate non-strategic arsenals, as they are mostly unusable via launchers capable of carrying a conventional load, such as a tank or naval warship. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, nuclear arsenals are expected to increase over the next decade, breaking with the post-Cold War nuclear weapons reduction trend. Indeed, all nuclear-armed states are increasing or modernizing their arsenals. Thus, even though it is true that the total inventory of Russian and American nuclear weapons decreased in 2022, this was only due to the dismantling of warheads retired several years ago. The stock of usable warheads, however, remains stable. Today, fears of nuclear weapons use have been felt since the start of the war in Ukraine because Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has considered using such bombs several times. In fact, experts have been so concerned since the beginning of the war in Ukraine because Russia is the world's leading nuclear power. Indeed, the country would hold 5,889 nuclear warheads compared to the 5,244 for the United States. Together, these two countries possess 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. Moreover, at the beginning of 2024, Russian President Vladimir Putin praised his country's nuclear armament, assuring that his arsenal was ready for a nuclear war. He also added that he does not intend to use these weapons against Ukraine. However, a few months ago, he suggested deploying tactical nuclear weapons on the territory of his ally, Belarus. a country bordering Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania. Other Russian officials have also threatened the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine in the event of a significant escalation of the conflict. On the US side, the country made headlines in October 2023 for revealing the development of a new atomic bomb. This B-61-13 gravity bomb, a modernized variant of the traditional B-61, will be 30 times more powerful than the one in Hiroshima. Next comes China, the third largest nuclear power in the world, with its 410 warheads. The country is known for significantly increasing and modernizing its nuclear arsenal in recent years. Indeed, the United States estimates that this arsenal could more than triple by 2035 to reach 1,500 nuclear warheads. This increase in atomic power is a key element to exert more pressure on Taiwan while keeping the United States at bay. In fourth place, we have France, with a total of 290 nuclear warheads. It also has 4 nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. Each of them is capable of carrying 16 M51 strategic submarine-launched ballistic missiles. These missiles can supposedly reach a target estimated at 6,000 kilometers at a speed of 19,000 kilometers an hour. As for the strategic air forces of the Air Force, they consist of several squadrons of Rafales, carrying improved medium-range air-to-surface missiles. Each missile contains an airborne nuclear warhead capable of traveling 500 kilometers before hitting a target and having a power of 300 kilotons. However, in the face of tensions with Russia, in February 2022, Jean-Yves Le Drian, Minister of Foreign Affairs, reminded on TF1 that NATO is a nuclear alliance. France relies on this to keep its enemies at bay. Thus, even though it is the only country in the European Union to possess nuclear weapons as part of NATO's nuclear deterrence policy, other member states host American atomic weapons within their territory, notably Italy, the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. In fifth place, we have the United Kingdom, which possesses 225 nuclear warheads. However, the country has been heavily criticized in recent months for its lack of deterrence. In fact, at the beginning of 2024, a missile test launch from a nuclear submarine failed for the second time in a row. The 58-ton device, part of the Trident range, a crucial component of the national nuclear deterrence, was equipped with a dummy nuclear warhead. It was launched from the HMS Vanguard submarine, but once out of the water, its first booster failed to ignite, and the missile fell back into the ocean just a few meters from the submersible. Next is Pakistan in sixth place, with 165 nuclear warheads. Rival of India, the country has had the atomic bomb since the 1980s. Its current arsenal has grown considerably in recent years. Unlike many other countries, including Iran, Pakistan is not a signatory of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which notably spares it from international inspections. Just after comes its sworn enemy, India, with 160 nuclear warheads. Having one of the largest budgets in the world for nuclear armament, it should not be forgotten that the country is surrounded by 2 other nuclear powers, China and Pakistan, with whom it has already fought several wars over border disputes. India has always claimed that it would never use the atomic bomb first, adhering to the no first use policy, but this does not prevent it from investing in deterrence, such as with the purchase of the French Rafale fighter jet, which has the capability to carry nuclear weapons at much higher altitudes than other fighters. In 8th place, we have Israel with 90. Although the Hebrew state is a young nation, in the mid-1950s, with the help of France, the country had secretly begun constructing a large nuclear reactor. This allows it to be a feared power in the Middle East. And finally, to conclude this ranking, we have North Korea with 30 nuclear warheads. Despite being one of the poorest countries in the world, it devotes more than 15% of its GDP to its military. The regime considers its nuclear program essential to its survival. Thus, the country has enshrined its status as a nuclear power in its constitution. Moreover, the dictator has declared that his country will not hesitate to retaliate with nuclear weapons if it is provoked by nuclear arms. As the nuclear arsenal continues to provoke complex debates and major concerns, particularly with the war in Ukraine, several countries are engaged in an arms race, including nuclear arms, despite the existing treaties. Thus, in 2022, the countries in this ranking, except the United States, all increased the share of their military budget devoted to nuclear weapons.